injuries and a bunch of health problems, not serious before. I don't want to run the risk, man. Seriously, I don't want to
Well,
run the risk. Honestly, I
well,
can't afford to die right now. I still have a lot of things to do. You know?
so, well, I guess we'll get into it then a little bit. So I guess y'all both came up under Jean-Jacques Machado. That's kind of a known fact to people that know. I mean, Professor Draculino, you got your purple belt. Eddie, you got your black belt under him, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So
You got your purple belt from Jean-Jacques?
I got my blue and my purple from here.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, like, how was that coming up under him, and what made him so special? I mean, you guys are two of the most prolific coaches of all time. I mean, innovators, people have done huge things in the industry. What's special about Jean-Jacques in comparison to maybe some of the other, instructors that were, the foundational, kind of founders of jiu-jitsu in America?
Good question. Go ahead.
Well, for me personally, Jean-Jacques, one of his best attributes was that he lets everyone work whatever game they want to work, and he lets everyone gravitate to whatever game they want to gravitate to. He never, not once ever did he tell me to direct me this way or direct me that way. He enjoyed the fact that I was always, I was a weak guy, didn't like lifting weights back in the day. So I always relied on trying to trick my opponents. And that's not always the best strategy. You know what I mean? Sometimes the best strategy is go head on with someone's game, and, but Jean-Jacques never tried to, he only helped my game. And the way it went with Jean-Jacques is I have this unorthodox game, again, because I'm weak. And if I go head to head with people with strength, I'm going to lose. So I always have to try to trick my opponents. That's just my game. And Jean-Jacques would get together with all the guys that in my school. They didn't want to learn what I was doing. They just wanted to learn how to stop it. So they would get together with Jean-Jacques and try to figure out how to stop what I was doing. And he would tell them. But then I would tell him how to stop what he showed him. And we would just go back and forth. And most nobody was interested in learning my style offensively. They just wanted to stop it. And Jean-Jacques was right there. And you know what? It was good for us. And we I didn't get mad that he was showing people how to stop my game. I took advantage of it because we were basically working out all the kinks and all the counters and the counters to the counters. And it was, Jean-Jacques was very instrumental in my game. As unorthodox as it is, he was right there, just like directing me. And whenever he would create a roadblock for me, he would create how to break through that roadblock. So I don't know. I wouldn't be where I'm at without him, that's for sure. The root of my game is his overhook game, and very few people played his overhook game. There's not that many that rely on the overhook like he does.
It was an injury to his hand, right? I mean, it was like a necessity.
Yeah, he had no choice, especially with the gi. He couldn't grab the gi that strong with his fingers, so he had to rely on overhooks. And that's why in Abu Dhabi, when it was on no gi, he was the first one to go out there and just wreck everybody because his left arm was already no gi. His left arm was no gi the whole time, his whole career. It's been no gi with his left arm. So when they took the gi off, his right hand had to make adjustments because he was grabbing the hell out of the gi with the right hand. But his left arm, he was overhooking. So that watches Abu Dhabi performances, watches his, and then watch everybody else's. It looks different. And the only reason it looks different is because he didn't have to change his game that much. His game wasn't changed that much when a lot of guys who went out there who overly relied on lapel grips and pant grips and sleeve grips. Some guys, they rely 100% on that. You didn't see them have the same success as Jean-Jacques did. Jean-Jacques went out there and his first year, he submitted everybody, won the gold. People couldn't believe it. They're like, what the fuck? They couldn't believe it. He just ripped through everybody. So he was the first ADCC legend.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Professor Drac, I mean, I get to see you almost every day in class. And, I mean, I see a lot of innovation in your game as well, along with the traditional aspect, using the lapel, some of the sweeps you do. I mean, is that something that, in your formative years as a, blue or purple belt, that kind of innovation that Jean-Jacques kind of fostered in his academy, did that play really big in your game as well?
Man, let me tell you, I love Jean-Jacques, man. I love Jean-Jacques as an older brother. I know him since I was a teenager, and he's such an inspiration to everybody. He is among the top, probably the top 5 jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time for me, because I saw and I witnessed him doing stuff, especially inside the school, that people wouldn't believe, you know. And I totally agree with Eddie when he said that he let people do their own thing. He let people develop their own game, and I got this from him as well. As you guys know, you see some of my students, they do completely different stuff from one or the other. You know, like there's nobody with the same game as me, for example. That's people who are like totally different games as mine, and this I got a lot from him, and from my master Carlos Gracie Jr. too. That actually is the master of Jean-Jacques. You know, he was the one that taught jiu-jitsu to Jean-Jacques and gave him the black belt as well. A lot of people don't know that, by the way, but that's Jean-Jacques is not a black belt under Rickson. He's a black belt under Carlinhos, but trained with Rickson a bunch. But he's a black belt under Carlinhos. Man, like he was a great coach. I remember that. I used to train him when he was younger, you know. So I got him still active, fighting all the time, competing all the time. I got him like really hungry to make his guys good. So my generation that trained there was like me, Soca, Gordo, Soneca, Ryan. You know, Ryan used to train more there than with Carlinhos back in the day. So it was great, man. I mean, he's again, like he said about the overhook, man, that's unbelievable what he does, because he actually offers you. He wants you to get there, and people think they're gonna get there and get a good position. Man, and there's so many variations that he does from there, and even the basic ones, you still can stop it. So we train a bunch. I trained him with the gi more, but I trained him without the gi. I actually trained him without the gi before the 80-50-99 that I also went. That he crushed everybody, like he said, submitted everybody. I actually lost to a guy that he fought, Sakurai, Hayato Sakurai, killed Hayato Sakurai. Sakurai beat me in referee's decision after overtime. So, man, like, he's amazing. I still talk to him once in a while. I miss him a lot. I love his family, Julie, Jacqueline, everybody. So, yeah, big shout out to him, man. Miss him a lot.
Awesome.
I got a question for you guys, actually. So kind of talking about Jean-Jacques and everything and his ability to allow innovation in his classroom and let you guys follow your own paths. Both of your instructors, 10th Planet, you know, has a curriculum that maybe a bit looser than some. GB, we know, has a curriculum that we follow. What are you guys? I mean, we know it's good to have a foundation, you know, a good basic foundation, but when do you guys think students should start experimenting and really trying to find their, you know, their game and their tricks and their you know, secret techniques type thing?
There's no right or wrong. I mean, you could think that, like for instance, when it comes to rubber guard, right? Everybody has a certain amount of time to train, like whether it's 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week. The average would say it's 2 hours a week. What are you going to do with that time? It really doesn't matter. As long as you keep learning, you can learn things backwards. Some people get involved in half guard first and get obsessed. Some people don't want to play any guard. They want to be a top player. Some people just want to jump on leg locks. Some people, you know, everybody's different. Some people want to be sit-up guard. Some people just want to play rubber guard. So to me, I learned after 17, 18 years of teaching, I learned that it really doesn't matter. As long as they're learning, there's so many, jiu-jitsu is so vast, it's endless. It really doesn't matter. And for me, I like that everybody in my classroom has a different go-to, different styles. And so it makes sure that everyone, you know, you mix it up well when everyone spars and everybody rotates. You're getting a good exposure to as many games as possible, you know. So it doesn't matter to me. Now, if you want to learn something specifically, like if someone said, "What I just started, I really want to learn rubber guard, but when should I? Is that too advanced for me? Should I learn something else?" For me, what I learned is, again, there's really no right or wrong. But if you really, really want to learn rubber guard, I learned now that I know, is all the best rubber guard players started rubber guard from day one. That's all they did. That's all they knew. They got their guard passed all the time. They're trying to play rubber guard. It's not working. Guys are passing their guard, and then it works a little bit. Works on white belts. Doesn't work on other guys. They're getting the guard passed. But little by little, that's all they know. They just keep playing. And then they get really dangerous. And then they get to the point where you're either going to pass their guard easy or you're going to get caught in a go-go plata. So it becomes like, whoa, either super dangerous or all you got to do is pass his guard and you're good. So what ends up happening is, eventually you got to get your guard retention at a high level and you got to get your guard recovery at a high level. Now, you could work on that first. If you want to work on that first and just work on guard retention, guard recovery, and then add something later, that doesn't work too well with the rubber guard because I learned just by my experience and my data that if you focus on just guard retention first and guard recovery first and attacking later, it's really hard to alter that game for rubber guard specifically. To have a really good defensive guard, you invert, you're hard to pass, it's hard to control, all these inversions. That's a beautiful thing, and those are great traits, very important traits. But what I tell people, I go, listen, if you want to learn rubber guard, you got to do it soon because you ain't going to do it later. It ain't going to happen later. No one develops it later. All the rubber guard players, all of them got into it right away. So, and I tell them, you're going to get your guard passed easily. You're going to have a problem with that. Don't let that discourage you. Get to the point where your rubber guard is so dangerous where they're either going to pass your guard or you're going to finish them. Then you know what? You will be forced to focus on guard recovery and a guard retention. You'll be forced because you're going to get sick of it. And once you finally are forced to fix all that, guess what? You're going to still have your rubber guard. And then it's going to be a lot more dangerous. As opposed to learning guard recovery and guard retention first, you ain't ever going to learn rubber guard. It doesn't work that way. You know what? If it did work that way, like you could work it, like I've seen a lot of people develop rubber guards late in their career, I would say, okay, that's the best way. Guard retention first, guard recovery first. That's the best way. But since in my experience, if you go that way, you'll never go back to rubber guard. You just won't. It just won't happen. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in having a guard like Boogeyman Martinez or like Jeremiah Vance or like Ben Eddy, where every opponent they go against, they are specifically staying away from their guard. You want a guard like that? You got to do that right away. And don't get discouraged if they pass your guard initially. You could fix that later. You're going to be forced to fix it later. You're not going to be forced to add rubber guard later. You're not forced to add the rubber guard later, but you will be forced to address your guard retention and your guard recovery. So that's what I found. So that's I'm teaching like my kids, like all their kids class is just rubber guard, and get them obsessed with it. Let their guards get past, fix that later, and they're always going to revert to their rubber guard. So for me, it sounds weird. It sounds like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But if that's what you want, if you want a dangerous guard where your opponents are fearing being in your guard, that's the way to do it, in my opinion. But I could be wrong.
Well, I'm gonna follow up on that. Professor Draculino, you're kind of notorious for developing your guard as a specialized guard as well as a spider guard. So can you kind of talk about like how you saw that come up and the origins of that guard and how it was used to basically just as a foundation of your game coming up?
Well, man, I mean, I believe on Eddie's data, but with me, it was completely the opposite.
Like I said, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I know. No, 100%. These I agree 100%. There's no right or wrong with jiu-jitsu, man. I've seen people that let you mount them to finish you. You would never say that is correct.
Yes, exactly.
There's always one cocksucker that will be doing that to you. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. It's endless. It's very tough, But anyways, with me, it was more like I was totally about always small too, like you said. I was the same. We kind of have maybe, I would say maybe probably way the same until this day. I was always on the bottom. I was always smashed. Like the story of every small guy. And then I started to develop a good retention and started to be harder to pass my guard. So the classical guard of the hand on the collar, the foot on the hip that you have in jiu-jitsu didn't really work for me. So when I started to see people grabbing the sleeves, and then I adapted this to defend myself better, and then I was starting to be really, really successful in not having people passing my guard. It was very hard to pass my guard. And then I start to put attacks after that. Why? Because when they got frustrated to try to pass my guard like crazy, they started to give me something. They made a mistake that they gave me something. And then, I started to boom, triangle. And then all of a sudden, I started to boom, do that rotation sweep because they tried to pass kind of straight to the belly, boom, sweep. And then I started to do omoplatas from there because when the person tries to break a grip and leave the other exposed. So with me, what worked is that it came out of like frustration from people not being able to pass my guard anymore. And it actually was there. I didn't even go straight to the attacks. It wasn't, I was kind of meaning more passive to bait, and trust me, I paid the price because of that. But sometimes I couldn't sweep, and then I lost the match. It happened to me a couple of times.
It's the old honey dick right there. That'll get you.
People got on more stalling. They didn't even in the pass, position themselves, and then boom, I was in the bottom. I lost. But it happened like quite a lot in the purple belt in me. So this is like what I think. I agree with Eddie that there's no right and wrong. You can never say that. For example, don't let somebody underhook you and flat you to pass the half guard. Those guys like that. They want you to do that. Jacques wants you to go to the underhook and try to do whatever.
I do that too. That's my game too. I give up the underhook. That's
what I'm saying. You like it. So how are you going to say, go for the underhook? No, not with him. Don't go for the underhook with him.
Well, I guess I wanted to ask you, Eddie. I guess all your names that have come up, the electric chair, the chili dog, all these crazy names. Was it really just a way for you to communicate in competition without people knowing what you were doing, or is it just you were like, fuck it, I just want to call it what it's making me laugh? Like there had to be some tactical background thinking to the names that you use for your techniques, right? Because if somebody yells out, "Do a fucking chili dog" in a competition, I'm like, what? And then they're gonna you know what I mean? Is that so? Explain kind of the reasoning behind the naming and why you use those unique names for your techniques.
It's really simple. I mean, I came from a wrestling background, and in wrestling, everything has a name. If it doesn't have a name, you're not efficient. Like to have to explain what a move is by doing physical movements as opposed to just saying one word or a 2-syllable word, that's efficiency. In wrestling, everything had a name. So when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I'm like, damn, a lot of these moves don't even have names. Like not only the moves have to have names, but the transitions, certain sequences have names. It's so easy to teach. When I talk to it's all about just teaching and learning. It's all about remembering. Wouldn't it be easier to remember a move if you just had a name? And people talk shit on me naming moves. Well, everybody's naming moves. Worm guard. Everybody got spider guard. Everybody's naming. Spider guard didn't come from Japan. Everybody's naming.
Draculino has left the building.
No. My dog was.
You know how hard it'd be to write a book on jiu-jitsu when there's moves that don't have names. Like Hoist Gracie did an interview and they asked him, this was like 8 years ago, and they go, hey, what do you think about these guys naming all these moves, these guys? And obviously they were talking about me, right? So he's all like, Nate, this is not a name game. This is not a memory game. I'm like, dude, every game is a memory game. How are you supposed? Every game is a memory. If you didn't use your memory in baseball, how would you know anything? Like everything has a name: first base, second base, third base, home run, single, double. What's easier? Say, oh, he hit a double. Oh, he hit the ball and they didn't catch it, and then he ran to second base. Come on, that's not efficient. In wrestling, everything has a name, and a lot of them are goofy. Like the banana split. That's a wrestling name. Every name, and yet everybody's coming up with names. There's all these names. Oh, everybody coming up with names. But when I do it, I'm like trying to insult jiu-jitsu or something. I named what wasn't named, and that's it. I didn't rename the triangle. I didn't take the triangle and rename that. There's people out there that think that I stole the wrestler's guillotine from wrestling and pretended that I made it up. People out there think that. People think that I took a wrestling move, a high school wrestling move. That's the twister. It's called the guillotine in wrestling. But when I started jiu-jitsu with Jean-Jacques and Higgin, I said this is called the guillotine. They said, no, there's already a guillotine. That's the front headlock. So Higgin is the one who named it the twister, and John, they named it, not me. I was telling them, I go, no, it's a wrestling move. I learned it in high school. It's called the guillotine. They didn't call it the guillotine. They named it the twister against my will. So finally it stuck. I don't want to battle with my sensei. So then I just called it the twister. I'm like, okay, I guess we'll just call it the twister. I didn't name it. So there's people out there right now, smart people that went to college, they got PhDs, they just get into jiu-jitsu, they've been training for 2 months, and then they ask their instructor, what's up with this Eddie Bravo guy? There's guys out there telling them, and I know this. This guy, he takes wrestling moves, he steals them, he changes their names, and then he pretends like he invents them. And these smart guys are going, oh my God, this guy sounds like a douchebag. And they go, yeah, they pull out my book. They pull out my book, Mastering the Twister, and they go, remember this from wrestling? That's called the guillotine. He calls it the twister. And they're like, oh my God, what a fucking ripoff artist. Can you imagine if that was really true? Can you imagine if I for real, like stole a high school wrestling move and changed the name and pretended that I made it up? I would have no followers.
Dude,
no fans.
You'd be the Carlos Mencia of jiu-jitsu.
I would be known as the biggest. I'd be like a huge fraud.
Menstelia.
You know, there's people who think that. There's people who think that. It's like fake news. Like, I never said I made that move up. I learned that in 9th grade. Alex Nicochia showed it to me. Jesse Barrios, those 2 guys.
So I got a question. I got a question about the twister. So there's only been 2 done in UFC history, right? Bryce Mitchell just did one, and then Chang Sang Young, right? Those are the 2 in the UFC.
Yeah, I think so. Alan Belcher almost had one on Rusamar Paharas. Almost.
Yeah.
So why haven't it been hit that much in MMA competition? Wasn't your system, the 10th Planet system built around for MMA guys, to keep guys broken down, their posture broken? Wasn't it built around more for MMA style of jiu-jitsu?
Yes.
Created it?
That's what 10th Planet was initially. 10th Planet, I wasn't trying to fix jiu-jitsu for the Mundials. They had that shit down. You know what I mean? I was trying to focus on the parts of jiu-jitsu that needed work in MMA, in my opinion. In my opinion, the bottom game in the UFC did not look good, man. There was no sweeps. No sweeps. Anytime someone gets a sweep in MMA, even today, it's a fucking big deal. People go, oh my God, sweep. You never see it. But when you look at regular jiu-jitsu, you see sweeps all day. And then my question was, how come there's no sweeps in MMA? Where's the sweeps? You know why? Because they're busy getting punched and they got to go to full guard. And you know what the most important guard, the most unimportant guard in grappling, the most unimportant guard is full guard. You don't need a full guard. No Abu Dhabi championships have ever been won in full guard. There's Abu Dhabi championships all the time, every year, where no full guard move was ever done. No full guard sweep, no full guard finish. You rarely see full guard dominance in Abu Dhabi. You never see it. You don't see it. But you see it in gi jiu-jitsu. Gi jiu-jitsu, you see guard amazement.
Or collar sleeve, all the different stuff that you can do. I mean, it's right there.
The guard's insane with the gi. But no gi, the full guard is so unnecessary. But in MMA, full guard is the most important guard. It's the most important guard. So what happens is, in sport jiu-jitsu, full guard, not important. You don't ever have to teach full guard. If you don't like full guard and someone ends up in your full guard, open up your guard, put your feet on the hips, start playing C guard or something. You don't have to. Nobody ever has to play full guard. You can win everything. You can win EBI, no full guard. You can win combat jiu-jitsu worlds, no full. You win IB, no full. You don't need full guard ever. MMA, you need full guard. MMA, you do.
So is that because so? I don't mean to interrupt you, Eddie. I was going to ask on that point with Professor Draculino, the reason that the full guard is being employed more in self-defense situations and in the gi is what? Primarily because of the gi and the way to keep the distance between the opponent. So in MMA, why if it's a self-defense posture, why isn't it any good for MMA? I mean, it's a great defensive posture, right? To slow it down. I mean, that's what I would think.
I think it's very hard to generalize anything in regards to guard, right? I believe that the guard, it's always a battle of distance. Whoever controls the distance better probably will win. The top guy or the bottom guy. It depends on controls the distance and get the better angles to sweep and submit or to pass. And there's a bunch of different ways that people can do that. When you talk about MMA and self-defense, like the guard that Eddie does, the rubber guard, it's pretty much the person on the bottom controlling the distance completely. He's the one dictating the terms, But the rubber guard is not the only guard that can do that in MMA as well. There's other guards as well. One that Rickson likes to do, they call the classical one, that he puts one leg from behind the shoulder and the other in front of the shoulder, that he controls in a way that he doesn't get head butted. He showed this a bunch of times. I don't know if they call classical guard, but Rickson does this really well. It's another way that he controls totally the distance as well, But what would be the best one to do in each situation? Depends on the opponent. Like the person who likes to engage more in ground and pound, for instance. I think Eddie's guard is really good. The person who gets in your guard, gets on the knee, and wants to beat you up. Or even sometimes eventually standing. So the person is engaging. So that's great. Because you control the distance, you get your angles and all that. But the person who's kind of more, like you guys remember Fedor used to be. Punch a little bit, boom, 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 out.
And then come back and drop some more.
He used to beat people up because he was the one controlling the distance. It was very hard to catch him in there because he was never there. He was close enough to punch, go back, boom. Things got rough, stand back up. So maybe for that kind of guard, the one that Rickson does would be better because he gets a little more stuck. And there's a possibility if he really tries to stand up, he'll be in trouble for a sweep or for something else. So it's very complicated, in my opinion, to generalize like anything like we were talking about before in jiu-jitsu. It's like we're talking about the mountain guy that lets people mount to submit. Who could tell? But that's something that works for him. So, my opinion, if I want to create a general rule, okay, for the guard in MMA, actually any kind of guard, whoever will win is whoever controls the distance and the angles better. Period. Top or bottom. I think that's a game based on this principles. So with the gi, of course, going to have a different reality. With punches, MMA is going to be a different reality. With no gi grappling is going to be a different reality as well. And who knows, maybe even rules in grappling. Who knows? Maybe there's some rules that you cannot be certain time on top without doing anything and then they stand you back up or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to have a different approach for that too.
And that's something I wanted to talk about as well. I mean, both of you guys, Professor Draculino, you've helped us with our rule set a little bit. And Eddie, you've been an innovator. You're the reason why, we even started Third Coast Grappling, watching EBI 1 and getting turned on that way back in the day. So when it comes to rule sets, do you think that's what promoters are missing, is maybe they're trying to copy too many of what everybody else is doing rather than innovate and try and make the sport more spectator friendly? Because I think that's the way to do it, is the rules. I mean, you can only you can make the best matchup in the world, but if the rules aren't pushing the action and making the athletes actually want to perform, I mean, it doesn't matter. You put Buchecha versus Hydro Gracie all day. I mean, if the rule set, I think would be the difference. What do you guys think on that?
Well, when I put together the format for EBI, for instance, the goal wasn't to be creative, or the goal wasn't to be original. Some parts of EBI are original, some aren't though. Which ones aren't? The ones that aren't original are the ones that my whole focus in making EBI. The whole focus was to make it exciting and to take the ref and the judges out. How could we make it, number one, as entertaining as possible for the fans? Because up to this point, when you have IBJJF tournaments, they have a great purpose. You know what IBJJF tournaments do? They force you to focus on your passing and your sweeping, which are very important parts of jiu-jitsu. No one denies that. Passing and sweeping is huge. So with the point system makes passing and sweeping the most important part of the game. Submissions are not even important. It's almost like judo. Like judo, the most important part is the throw. There's submissions as well, but they're not important. You could win a judo world championship and never submit anybody. Submissions are there, but they're not important. That's what the point system does. When you start adding points, now the submission isn't the most important thing. Getting those points off. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. All IBJJF champions have stellar passing and sweeps. That's a beautiful thing. But there's way more to jiu-jitsu than just passing and sweeping. It's endless. It's endless. There's so much. So yes, my guys, I push my guys to do IBJJF tournaments. We do them. We do them. But we also know and believe that focusing on submissions and getting really good at finishing. Getting really, really good. Everybody knows a rear naked choke, but there ain't that many people like Marcelo Garcia that could finish it like that. There aren't that many people. There's a lot of people know arm triangles. Not that many people very good at them. Not that many people lighting the world on fire with them. Everybody knows how to do a darts. Everybody. But only a couple people are masters. So it takes a lot of time to master submission. So you got to spend a lot of time there too. But if all you do is points tournaments and that's all that matters, then submissions aren't important. If all that mattered was points championships, I would never even train submissions. They would just come up and, hey, if someone comes up with one on their own, it would be sweeping and passing every fucking day. But when I put together EBI, I wanted to put together a tournament that had the audience in mind. Because when you go to IBJJF, again, I have nothing against them, but the audience is the last thing on their mind. The audience, they can care less what the audience thinks.
It's not a spectator. It's not set up for the spectator. It's completely different.
It's not. It's not. It's set up to develop skills.
Yeah.
And if your parents want to come and your girlfriend wants to come, that's fine. But damn, it's not spectator friendly. I had my uncle came once. He wanted to come when I was a blue belt. I go, you don't want to come. We're there all day. Joe Morera doing tournaments in Irvine, California. You're there for like 16 hours. And I told my uncle, I go, you don't want to come? He goes, no, dude, I want. I go, dude, you're gonna be fucking bored, dude. And he came and he left like in an hour. He was gone. Like a ghost. And I never invite any friends. They're bored their fucking minds up. So when I decided to do EBI, I decided to, what if we did a tournament that was all about the audience? So that was the main focus. And the reason why I have a 16-man tournament, I didn't invent 16-man tournament. I didn't invent that. I realized that's the best. For a tournament, 16. Abu Dhabi does it, but even before Abu Dhabi, UFC 2 had a 16-man tournament.
The dramatics, the fighting multiple times in one night, seeing somebody. It's something about it.
You have one 16-man tournament. That's why we do one 16-man tournament. We have a couple special matches, but generally we're just focused on one, because no matter who's in there, we want the best guys possible. I never turn down any good guys. Any good guys want to come in. I've never turned down like a 10-time world champion. I want to do EBI. No. I said, yes. I never turned down anybody.
Well, I've talked to you about that before. Like why people have been actually scared. I wouldn't say scared to do EBI, but I think the overtime is what prevents people from doing it, because there's been a trend lately to where like guys are they're doing their thing in regulation just to get to overtime and win. Do you like seeing that evolution of your rule set there where people are gaming it to get to the overtime, or do you just see that as part of strategy and winning or whatever there is? Because you see guys like Krikorian, he's a EBI. He put that EBIOT Mastery DVD out.
He never won EBI. He didn't win EBI.
But what do you think?
Won EBI.
He's never won EBI.
I love Keith Krikorian. I love him to death, and he's going to be a superstar. He's on his way. But think about, to answer your question, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
What percentage is there? What EBIs didn't produce the two best guys in the finals?
Never.
Name one EBI that didn't produce the two best guys in the finals.
But see, I always thought that when you put those brackets together, that sometimes there were mismatches built in so that those guys would potentially meet. Or did you build them specifically that way to where if the guys did their part on one side and the other guy did his? That's how we build ours. Like if they're
for sure. We don't want teammates in the finals. We had that once in EBI 2. That's not good. Although they were both 10 Planet guys, but I realized we can't have. That's why when we have 2 10 Planet guys, we always put them on one side. If you want to make it to the finals, sorry, brothers, we got to fight each other. We can't. That's not good for the show. It's not good for the show to have teammates in the finals. That's no good. That's no good. So if you're going to have a teammate, I always encourage a teammate to all schools. You want to put 2 guys in EBI? Put 2 guys. I always tell people that. Put 2 guys in. Let's go. I put 2 guys. I put 2 of my guys in. Let's see how many guys you want to put in. Put your best guys in. I never turn down anybody. Now when it comes to overtime, you say, can someone, aren't you, no matter what system you use, when you're talking about gaming the system, dude, that happens all the time at the point.
No, it happens everywhere. I wasn't specifically calling you out. I'm just saying, like, I'm seeing more of a trend lately of guys being overtime specialists, it seems, to get in these positions and win.
What's an overtime? An overtime specialist
means
you think anybody can beat Marcelo Garcia in EBI overtime?
No, we had this talk. We had this talk at ADCC.
Name one guy. Nobody. You think anybody could beat Gordon Ryan overtime in EBI OT? No. So what all EBI overtime is, and we're gonna have a show. I have a show called Jiu-jitsu overtime, which is just overtime, 16-man tournament.
So you're really gonna do that?
We're gonna do it. UFC loves it.
Fuck yeah!
I pitched it to them and they love it. They love it. So the reason why I'm calling it jiu-jitsu overtime and not EBI overtime is because EBI overtime is jiu-jitsu overtime. What is jiu-jitsu overtime? It's an arm bar or rear naked choke shootout. Rear naked chokes and arm bars are the essence of jiu-jitsu. It's the epitome of jiu-jitsu. If you see somebody with a shirt and they got like a cartoon of a dude choking out another guy, you're gonna go, oh shit, you train jiu-jitsu? Where do you train? Yeah, bro, I train at Draculino. It's like, oh shit, what belt are you? Right? If you see somebody with a shirt and they're doing an arm bar, a cartoon guy's doing an arm bar, you're gonna say, oh shit, where do you train? They're like, dude, I'm training at Alliance. You're like, oh shit, what belt are you? Right? If you see somebody doing a pass, you're not gonna know what that is. You're like, hey, what is that? What is Aikido? You're not gonna know. I'm not talking shit on passing, but what I'm saying is EBI OT is the essence of jiu-jitsu. It's a rear naked choke shootout. It forces you to be really good. There's nobody that ended up in the finals in EBI that didn't deserve to. It was always the two best guys. Sure, every now and then you get a match where a guy got dominated in regulation and then he won in overtime.
And that's the thing I'm talking about. Like the guy that's getting his ass beat and then he pulls it out of his ass in overtime after the other guy was dominating him in regulation, and then he gets put in a position he didn't get once during the initial round, But
what I'm saying is that can happen, but they ain't gonna win. They're gonna you can't rely on that. And you know what I tell guys, that happens to my guys. We have EBI tournaments like in-house all the time. We have EBI over, you know what I tell my guys? A guy that dominated someone the whole round, couldn't put him away, and then you lost in overtime? The guy that you dominated is better at rear naked chokes than you? I go, you need to work on your EBI OT. We do EBI OT rounds. It's in the curriculum. It's on the if they outlawed EBI OT, let's just say Hillary Clinton won the presidency and they outlawed it, we would still train it. You know why? Because just training it and getting ready for it. There's a reason why the DDS guys are really good at the back, right? All of them very, very. If you haven't noticed that, you ain't paying attention. But the one thing the DDS guys got is when they got your back, you're fucked. My guys are like that too. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because EBI OT or Jiu-Jitsu OT is in the curriculum. We train that shit all the time. There's so many levels of escapes. You practice EBI OT, you put in hours and hours and hours. Dude, I'm telling you, man, the escapes, it's so complex, so sophisticated, and we would have never gotten there if we weren't forced to do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I got a rule set. I want to make sure my guys are stellar at rear naked chokes and arm bars. We got to win those OTs most of the time. That's our goal. We got to win that shit. And
can I say something about it?
Yeah, Professor Drac, what do you have to say on rule sets and jiu-jitsu and how they help with the show?
Listen, I think I can say that because I'm older than all of you guys here in jiu-jitsu, more experience. There is no perfect rule set, period. It doesn't exist.
No.
The athlete
maybe combat jiu-jitsu though. You got to maybe combat jiu-jitsu. That's not that easy.
No, but listen. Look, I'm gonna prove my point here. Listen up. The athlete always will find a way to make the rules work in their favor in any rule set. And sometimes they make it in a very boring strategy or in a strategy that is not like the most, let's say, honorable, the most exciting. For example, in the EBI rules, there will be guys that for sure will pretty much start the match, cross their arms, and defend to go to overtime because the special is on overtime. Is that the athlete's fault? Not at all. He's doing what it takes to win. On the IBJJF, there will be a guy that nobody can pass his guard and can sweep everyone. You pull somebody to guard. And depending on the match, it's not going to risk much. And then look at the clock. Okay, 2 minutes. Boom, sweep, one. Is the most exciting one? No. But the athlete is doing the strategy that is allowed and legal to do within the rules. Period. The only perfect rule in fighting and in combat sports is two guys with no gloves, with nothing, no time limit, beat each other until one asks to stop. No time limit. That's the only rule that is real combat sport. Even MMA, there's some crazy guys who say MMA, oh, the gloves, they're not realistic. Oh, but you can't kick in the head. Oh, you cannot do headbutt. Any rule has criticism. Any rule there was going to be somebody that will point a problem on the rule. The combat jiu-jitsu rules, they're really cool. And there's going to be one cocksucker going to say, it's slapping on the face. And thing. I don't agree with that. I'm just saying that people will say that. Trust me. So I think that.
Yeah, they say that. They do say that all the time.
You know, so man, so look, there is no perfect rule. I think that the people that are out of this world, the best ones, are the ones that get any rule and they win. Any rule.
I agree.
So you see, for example, man, like Roger. Man, Roger won in the IBJJF rules that, you know, people say, oh, it's more points. Roger submitted everybody, man. Weight and absolute. The best guy in the world. Kept everybody out. He kept 11 people out in one day. There's no such thing of like, oh, he played for points. No, he choked everybody out. He submitted all of them. And then on the ADCC in 2005, same thing. He tapped everybody out on the ADCC rules. He fought MMA. He tapped people out. You know, he fought with Shusha on the modified rules. Tapped him out. You know, those guys are the different. Marcelo Garcia, man. Marcelo Garcia was successful in everything. You know, so the best guys, in my opinion, are first the guys that doesn't matter the rule set, they make it happen. Okay, doesn't matter. Guy, May,
Gordon Ryan's the best example of that right now. I mean, any rule set anywhere, EBI, 3CG. I mean, the guy has won in all the rule sets.
Look, Gordon Tono is the best jiu-jitsu grappler, no-gi grappler in the world right now. There's no question about it. You know, like him or personality or not, he is the best. He's the absolute ADCC world champion. He won the EBI a bunch of times. He won IBJJF Wars, no gi, period. There's no question about it. Okay? But in no-gi, in the gi, there's other people that has this, the style. He's not the best gi in no-gi. But that's what I'm saying. Guys like Roger and Marcelo, those guys are a different breed because those guys won everything, every rule, gi, no gi, porrada, whatever, you know. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that there are very few in this world that can be considered GOATs in grappling. Very few, because those don't matter what the rules. They tap people out. They crush people 90% of the time.
Well, so
that's my thing.
Well, my question on that would be is,
yeah,
Draculino, your connection's kind of crackling. I think your connection's loose. Your audio sounds a little crackly.
Can you hear? Can you? No, yours is good.
No, I think it's better now. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Wait a minute. Let me see. It's like when you're.
Can I add something to what Draculino said?
Of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Part of the and this to getting more in depth when you're asking why I chose the EBI OT rules. Marcelo Garcia has got more submissions in Abu Dhabi than anybody. All right. Abu Dhabi, he's the fucking arguably the greatest of all time. Hodger too. Hodger gets your back, you're fucked. I'm very well aware that Hodger's easily considered. He's in the conversation when you're talking about greatest grapplers of all time, for sure. And it's because he's a finisher. He's a finisher. So he goes out there, just like you said, he finished 11 guys one day. That doesn't happen that often. And what makes Marcelo so great? He's a finisher. So when I designed EBI, my goal was to make it as entertaining for the audience as possible, and at the same time, make sure the best grapplers ended up in the finals for sure. And the reason why I designed those EBI OT rounds was it's a way to ensure if Marcelo Garcia ever did EBI, he would never lose in OT. So we are sure that the best grappler will win. He'll beat anybody in OT. Are you kidding, Marcelo Garcia? So, but you know what? In Abu Dhabi, he has been beat, and the way he gets beat, the way you beat Marcelo, the game plan in Abu Dhabi is you got to be an exceptional wrestler. Your wrestling's got to be high level. You stall him into overtime, and then in overtime you out wrestle him, and that's how you beat Marcelo. That's how you could beat him. Now, if that worked, does that make the guy that beat Marcelo better than him? No, not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. That doesn't make him better. Marcelo, I watched that match. I'm like, Marcelo, you avoided him. You took him into overtime. You're a better wrestler. I'm not interested in who the better wrestler is. I'm interested in who the better finisher is. For me personally, that's me personally. So in EBIOT, you can't do that. That strategy ain't going to work. Well, you're going to stall to overtime and to get into overtime with Marcelo Garcia? These OT rounds were designed after him. They were designed to make sure the best grappler wins. That's what the OT was designed. No judges. No, the fighters decide. If Hodge Gracie did EBI, he would fucking win. Are you kidding? Who's going to go to OT with Hodge Gracie? His rear naked chokes are insane. So the rule set was designed to make sure that the best submission artist won, not the best wrestler. You could be a gold medalist from Iran, come into EBI, and you're gonna lose an OT. You might be able to stall your opponent out into overtime, but overtime in EBI is who's the best at rear naked chokes. Marcelo will always win. Marcelo would always win, and so would Hodge Gracie. He would always win too. It was designed for people with amazing rear naked chokes, but you also got to be amazing with that defense too. You can't come into EBIOT without amazing defense. So it ensures defense and offense. Those are the guys that win. Every now and then someone does game it. Every now and then that happens. Every show there's one guy that stalls in overtime and then he pulls it out. But that doesn't happen that often. And you're not going to win the whole thing that way. You might get away with one match, maybe two matches at the most, but you ain't going to get away with that. Eduardo Tellez, that was his plan. He talked about it in the Countdown show. He said, I'm going to go in there and win in overtime because my defense is the best. You can't, in EBI, maybe one match, maybe two matches, but at the end, you look at every single EBI, look at the finals, tell me those two guys didn't deserve to be in there. Every EBI had the best guys in the finals, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, since we're on that, then let's pivot a little bit over. Professor Draculino, you and Eddie both are known for a few things, but I mean, one of Eddie's, I guess, biggest ones. I want to get your perspective before I ask Eddie his perspective. So when Eddie beat Royler in 2003, what was that like on the Brazilian side, like on your side or on your team side, when you saw the gringo come over there and leg lock Royler?
Mexican. I'm Mexican. I'm not a gringo.
Hey, whatever, a Mexican gringo. We can call him whatever.
I'm more Brazilian. I'm more Brazilian than most white people. I'm Brazilian as hell. I was ready to get a Brazilian flag. I've been to Brazil twice. Once in 2000 when BJ fought Soca. In 2000, I was a purple belt. And then once in 2003, dude, I was ready to get a Brazilian flag tattoo on my back, son. I was like, this place is the best. I was like, dude, are you kidding? What's better than Brazil? Holy shit.
Yeah, so I want to hear that, Professor. I want to hear from your side that 2003 match, and then I want to hear, we'll get into the Metamoris thing later, but I want to hear the 2003 Eddie beats Royler. How'd that go at ADCC? What was your reaction?
Look, man, I was there coaching soccer. Actually, we just talk about soccer, and soccer was competing against, I think, Derek Yoshida at exactly the same time that Royler and Eddie were going on the other side. So I was right here coaching soccer, and then it was going down there. And then, of course, I was focused on soccer, but I saw kind of Royler passing. I think he passed, right? I think he did pass or something. He was doing some points, and then I was there because soccer was in a tough match. And then all of a sudden, I saw Hoyle trapping the triangle. Boom. And everybody, ooh, you know, like the whole crowd was kind of like, and then Hoyle tapped. And then, I mean, like a lot of people give me shit because long time ago, I called Eddie Bravo the rubber man.
The rubber man, yeah.
You were known, look, you were known like that in Brazil, bro. People didn't say Eddie Bravo. They say, man, that rubber man guy that beat Hoyle. Yeah, that's true. You know, so when he said like Eddie Bravo, I didn't understand because I didn't click. And then when he said, "Oh no, the rubber man," yeah, people knew him in Brazil was the rubber man. And I don't know, probably because people, oh, rubber guard, rubber man, he's flexible. I don't know, maybe it was a confusion, and then people started to do that. I'm not sure, but anyway, he was huge because man, Hoyle has a curriculum that is very hard to match. That's the truth. You know, he won Mundials 4 times, actually 3 times beating me on the final. You know, so I mean, myself, I fought Hoyle 3 times, so I know how good he is. He's really good, you know. And then I was a shock, and a lot of people, most of the people, actually including me, thought was a fluke. That can happen because it happens. In fighting, grappling, something happened.
He got caught. He got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Yeah, kind of like that.
You know what?
So,
Hey,
but anyway,
listen up.
Let
me tell you how I feel about the. You know, obviously there was a big backlash, and you know, Brazilians got mad at me or whatever. A lot of guys in Gracie Baja didn't like me, but I get it. I get it now, man. I look back. So you got to remember, I wasn't a professional jiu-jitsu player. I was in the entertainment business. When I went to Abu Dhabi in 2003, I was working for Comedy Central as a comedy writer. I worked on The Man Show. And the only reason I even did that job is I wanted to be a rock star my whole life. So music was my whole life. And then I got involved in comedy. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna somehow work my music into the comedy. But jiu-jitsu was a hobby. This is a hobby. When I went to Brazil, I thought I was gonna get smoked right away. I'm a brown belt. I was going just to party in Brazil because it'd been 3 years since I've been there. So I'm like, free trip to Brazil. I didn't expect anything. I mean, I wasn't trying to open up a school or anything. But I had such a bad experience working for Comedy Central, and it was really depressing. I was super depressed when I went to Brazil, like in my life. I knew the show was gonna get canceled. It was getting terrible ratings. I'm like, shit, I'm going to be 33 and not have a job. I'm going to be, so I go, it's my last hurrah. Let's go to Brazil, Joe Rogan. You know, we upgraded. We got business class. It was crazy. So we went just to have fun. Like, I'm going to get my ass kicked. You know what I mean? Hoyler, Leo Vieira. I'm like, I can't beat those guys. But hey, I won the trials, free trip. Let's go party. That's all. That's the mindset I have. My last vacation before I'm unemployed and I'm broke, right? So when I went you know, I tapped out Hoyler. Leo Vieira kicks my ass. So I thought, you know, everyone's gonna think I got lucky because Leo Vieira kicked my ass. So I come back and I'm kind of still depressed. But then when I get back to the States, you know, online people are like focusing on the win over Hoyler and you know what a huge upset it was. And people started talking. Magazines started asking me questions and doing interviews. And I'm like, oh shit. So a friend of mine goes, dude, you know you hate your job at Comedy Central. You should open up a gym and teach jiu-jitsu. And I never thought about that before. But I thought, you know what? I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna do that. So I went to this dirty Muay Thai boxing gym that had asked me. They asked me a year before, do you want to teach jiu-jitsu? I'm like, are you kidding? No one's gonna learn jiu-jitsu from me. I'm a brown belt Mexican. We got Hicks in here. We got Jacques here. Who the hell is going to pick a Mexican over a Brazilian when it comes to jiu-jitsu? So
they may not be able to tell the difference, though. That's what I'm saying. So you might
work on the accent.
So I told him, no, I turned it down back then. But after I tapped out Hoyler, I came back and I'm like, I'm going to go back to that gym and see if they'll let me use some space. So I went back there and then boom, they said, yeah. So then I quit my job at Comedy Central, walked right the fuck off the set. I'm like, fuck these guys. It's a long story. That would take 2 hours to tell. But anyways, that's where 10th Planet was born. So I was born at a little boxing Muay Thai gym. And right away, you know, my fantasy was like, when I was a blue belt and a purple belt, if I ever taught jiu-jitsu, instead of doing no-gi one night a week, Thursday night, I go, dude, if I ever open up a school, it's going to be no-gi 24/7. So that was like a thing. I never thought I would do it. but it was something that I said because I was always a no-gi guy at John Jacques. I was always the one after training say, you want to take off your kimono? I always wanted to go no-gi because the UFC got me into jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu didn't get me into the UFC. So I was all into the UFC, then I got into jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, why is everybody wearing jackets? So I was the no-gi guy always at John Jacques. So when I decided to open up the school, I thought, damn, maybe I'll just do no-gi every day. How cool would that be? So that's what I did. And right away, some Brazilians, even like close Brazilians that were close to me, like Renato Magno, he was one of my instructors too with Jean Jacques. He worked with Jean Jacques for many years. And he was like, he came up to me like right after that, right when he found out I opened up a pure no-gi school, he came up to me and goes, Porra, Eddie, bravo, you're gonna teach no-gi? You betrayed this. I'm like, dude, I just like no-gi better. That's all. You know what I mean? It looked like I was turning my back on jiu-jitsu. It did. Oh, I tapped out Hoyler. I'm better than him. I'm gonna go no-gi. I'm better than jiu-jitsu. I could see how it looked that way, but it wasn't that way. I took off the gi to improve jiu-jitsu in MMA. That was my little operation. It was like Operation 10 Planet. Let's fix the bottom game in MMA so we bring jiu-jitsu back. It was just depressing watching so little guard work in MMA. I'm like, man, what's going on? These wrestlers are ground and pounding my jiu-jitsu guys. We got to do something. So that's all 10 Planet was, is my attempt to try to help jiu-jitsu, not to turn my back on jiu-jitsu.
Let me ask you this, Eddie.
It looked that way.
Who, in your opinion, is the best jiu-jitsu guy in MMA history? In your opinion?
You'd have to put Damian Maia up in there. You'd have to put Vinny Magalhaes in there, Minotauro, of course Hickson. You know what I mean? But it all depends on how you look at like your modern day guys like
Ryan Hall, those guys.
Yes, Ryan Hall, dude. Are you kidding me? Ryan Hall, shit.
Nobody will fight the guy. Nobody will fight him.
Can't catch a fight.
Hey, you notice that he only said gi guys?
I only said what?
100%. All of them came from a gi background, and you too.
Most jiu-jitsu guys came from a gi background.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, so
but when you ask the best guard players,
no. The best MMA, the best jiu-jitsu guys in MMA, not just the best guard player, the best jiu-jitsu guy.
Oh yeah.
Overall.
Does he have the best full guard? Does Damian Maia have the best full guard?
Full guard, no.
What do you think?
Half guard.
His back.
Okay.
And back.
Half guard.
Yeah. Who has the best full guard in MMA?
Full guard, nobody. Full guard is like, let me see. Nobody. Vinny has a great rubber guard. Vinny Pezão. Pezão is amazing.
People say pulling guard. People say pulling guard is dangerous because if you pull guard, you're on the bottom, you're gonna get smashed.
No, depends on how good the guard is.
If it's so dangerous, how come it's so hard for Vinny to do? If Vinny sits on his butt, dude, his opponent should just jump on top of him and go, oh my God, I can't believe he's on. But they'll never do that to Vinny. Unless he's tired. If he's really, really tired, yes, because he has cardio problems sometimes, you know what I mean? But when Vinny's fresh, you are not, his coaches will get out of his guard, run away, get out.
You know, guys, we forgot a very important guy. We forgot a very important guy in jiu-jitsu. Very important that I think this guy doesn't get the credit he deserves. Murilo Bustamante too.
Oh yeah.
Oh hey.
Yeah.
I love Murillo. He's one of my heroes for sure.
Man, Murillo.
My thing was not fixing toreandos in MMA, not fixing standing passing in MMA.
Yeah.
There was no problem in MMA. Brazilians weren't having problems passing the guard in MMA. The problems were wrestlers taking jiu-jitsu guys down. That was the problem. The problem wasn't leg drags. The problem wasn't passing. Because when jiu-jitsu guys were on top, they pass and it's over. They're gonna mount. No problem there. That was no problem ever. The mount, no problem. You punch, take an armbar, punch, take the back, gift wrap, take the back. That's not the problem. The problem was the worst case scenario. Wrestler who two worst case scenarios. Wrestler who takes you down at will and you can't do anything, and a guy that's beating you up standing and you can't take him down. The only two remedies for that is it's a Vinny Magalhaes guard. That's the remedy.
You know what I think, Eddie? Nowadays is the biggest problem for jiu-jitsu guys in MMA. I don't even think it's the wrestler that takes you down and tries to beat you. I think, are the guys that cannot stop on the ground. This is the biggest problem for jiu-jitsu guys nowadays. Because
explain that again. What's the problem?
the guys that don't stay on the ground, the guys that specialists to stand back up. The guys who are
guys always want to throw down. Like Damian Maya.
Exactly. The guys,
Damian Maya was like a striker for a little bit. Remember, he tried that for a while.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't blame him. I don't blame him because grapplers, jiu-jitsu guys, most of them, they don't, they never think about striking until they do, MMA training, and they're fucking scared of striking. They got to get the fight to the ground. We got to drag it to the ground. We can't strike with this guy. We got to drag it to the ground anyway. But once you get to the point where you're a grappler your whole life and you were once fearful of striking, and now you feel good and you're taking the punches and you're throwing down, I could see how like Damian Maya and like George Jurgel. Same thing. He was like, fuck that, dude.
George was crazy, man. I love watching fights.
It feels good. It feels good. Like even like there's a lot of jiu-jitsu players that do that. They're like, you know what? I never thought I'd be able to strike, and it feels good. Even though they lose decisions or whatever, it still feels like they won. Like they conquered their fear of standing and banging and gunslinging. You know what I mean? But after a while, you go, okay, you conquered your fear, but you're losing decisions. Now what? So what Damian Maya did is he changed it up. He went back to what he was good at, is taking dudes down. His wrestling is awesome. He takes dudes down, he passes their guard, and if he ends up on his back, he keeps it real simple. Real simple. He just waits for the right time to hit that dog fight and sweep and get on top and pass. He'll even, like what he did with Ben Askren, is he went for like a little leg lock. He made Ben Askren defend and kind of like sit back on his hip, and then he used that to come up and sweep him and get on top, and then he choked him out. That was brilliant.
What about Dorino, the Dorino fight that just happened? Like they both basically stood up, they got to the ground, he got Dorino's back for a split second. Do you think Damian gassed, or do you think it was more or less it just, I mean, I don't know what happened. It was like it was even, and then it was just a complete blowout. I mean, what do you think was the big difference between Dorino and Damian when they just recently fought?
I think when it comes down to straight grappling, I think Gilbert is just, he's been more active in the pure grappling.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I think he's a little more, not that Damian Maya's outdated or anything like that, but man, there's so much shit going on that's evolving. And if you're not on top of it right now, you're going to get left behind. There's just no way around it. I truly, truly believe that with the leg lock system the way it is now, the leg lock game, you're going to start seeing a lot more leg locks in MMA. It used to be thought of as like too dangerous, too risky. But now we know which ones are risky and which ones are safe. There's leg lock positions that'll save you. If you're getting grounded and pounded, there's leg lock positions that you want to get to so they can't pound you. And even though maybe the leg lock doesn't get the tap, you're safe. There's a lot of positions like that. Yes, there's a lot of dangerous positions too. You got to know which ones they are, which ones are safe, which ones are cool to hang out in. You're going to see a lot more. And you're seeing it. And the better you are with leg locks, the more you could pull guard. Look at Gary Tonin in his last fight at one. Maybe it wasn't his last fight, but he shot for a single. He wasn't even close to getting it. And when he had that single standing, he just pulled guard right into a leg lock, and they beat the guy's ass in a few seconds later.
Well, like Gary was saying, like he wanted to stand up as well to make a statement that he's not just a jiu-jitsu guy. So I watched all of his fights over there on one, and he would just stand and bang with these guys, and then basically he'd rock them and he'd catch them and then submit them. But I mean, I think, is that what you've got to be? You've got to be the hybrid fighter these days. Like you're getting ready with Tony Ferguson with the big fight with Justin Gage. How does that go from?
Hey, Ryan, let me just put it something. Why you guys are talking about all that? I think that guys like Damian Maya, guys like Vini, if you get a wrestler that just tries to put them down and ground and pound them, it's the best scenario for them, 100%. That's actually what a good jiu-jitsu guy wants with a wrestler. However, when a wrestler plays a game like Usman and like what's his name? The other guy from
Colby Covington.
No, not even him. The other guy, dark guy that used to be the UFC champion before UTT. That lost
Tyron Woodley.
The way these guys fought Damian, for me, is the worst possible scenario for a grappling jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah, there's two worse ones. That's one. I was talking about that earlier. Someone that you can't take down, or someone that takes you down at will. those are the two worst ones.
Exactly, because it doesn't engage. They don't give you the chance to engage in any kind of grappling that is our nature, top or bottom, or even defending, whatever. They just,
You know what, Ryan Hall?
You
Ryan
know?
Hall, he has the answer to that. Ryan Hall, he's not trying to wrestle with anybody. Like those guys, you know what he's doing? Ryan Hall's just waiting for the right opportunity to steamroll into an Imanari roll. He doesn't even care how it ends up, because it's going to be hard to land a perfect Imanari roll. But the goal is to make such an impact that you clinch on legs, and then you quickly fix your legs the way you want them. That's what he's doing. He doesn't even need wrestling. So that's what I've been talking about. That's the third option. You should have 3 ways to win. Most fighters only have 2 ways to win. Most fighters you only win standing, or if they get a takedown. Most fighters can't win if they don't win standing or can get a takedown. The third option is what I always take, is say if you're losing standing and you can't take the guy down, you have to be very creative in dragging the fight down. Look at Gary Tonin in that fight I'm talking about. He just shot a shitty single and then pulled guard and submitted the guy. It happens a lot. Dylan Dennis did it. Dylan Dennis pulled guard. It's happening all over. That's the third option. And most fighters only have 2 ways to win. But to have 3 is the future, in my opinion.
That's for sure.
I saw in the past, because one time I was booked to fight Imanari in Korea, but the event didn't happen. So I was studying him a lot back in the day. This was 2003. And I saw Imanari actually losing a couple of times. And he was really dangerous doing his roll and getting there, but people were actually escaping from the footlock. But what happened to him a couple of times that he tried so many times that people started to kind of figure out, and he started to get tired and frustrated as well. And then remember,
nothing works all the time. Nothing works all the time.
Exactly.
He never developed. Imanari never like Sakuraba. They both never really focused a lot on their striking. They got decent striking, but they were never known as high-level strikers. Like, for instance, like Fabricio Verdum, people don't remember that when he started his MMA career, his striking was non-existent. He was a classic. He was like a classic gi guy, 0 striking. He didn't look like he had that much promise, to tell you the truth. Like, man, this guy has no striking. His wrestling ain't there. But you know what? He never quit. He never quit. He kept working on his striking year after year. He was in the background. Fabricio Verdum. We fought him, I think, the End of Pride or Deep or Dream or whatever. And but little by little. And then what happened is the striking got legit. So striking.
Jacare too. Jacare, same thing. Jacare was the same thing. Jacare got knocked out bad. His first MMA.
Jacare is a great striker.
Well, I mean, if you look at Imanari though, you just had the success of him on your recent combat jiu-jitsu. Man, when he went into that Imanari roll on Tom Halpin, that instant counter, bro, you think he was just waiting for it and he's been just training that, over and over, or what really, can you walk us through how that, just how quickly that was able, him to counter it the way he did?
Well, Tom Halpin.
Imanari was just on a Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds, and he fought a guy named.
I want to watch that. What happened? I didn't know that. That's cool.
Tom Halpin leg locked everybody. That's what I'm
British guy, Tom Halpin.
Even in Combat Jiu-Jitsu, Tom Halpin leg locked everybody, even with the strikes. So what we're finding out now is, man, leg locks are good when they're striking. You just got to know which position. Yeah. There's so many leg entanglements. Like the latest one, that Lachlan Giles game, that Craig Jones game, the outside Sengaku. Holy shit. That's might be the best leg lock position for MMA. You can't get hit. You're totally safe. If you're playing outside Sengaku, it's like 50-50, but your legs are on the other side. It's a great position for MMA. All that shit, but it takes a while because it takes so much to get into to be high-level MMA. You can't just come in just jiu-jitsu or just striking or just wrestling. It takes a long time to develop all 3 at a high level. So, in my opinion, and I think it's a fact, that the best guard players aren't in MMA. Like, I know some guard players that you end up in their guard, it's 80% you're done. I see them, I train with them all the time. You don't see that in MMA. But I see it. I know there's people, you'll never see these guys in MMA because they suck at striking. They don't ever train striking, and they never work on their wrestling. So you're never going to see the best guard players in MMA unless they decided, because you have to have like gigantic balls of steel to fight in MMA. The training, you have to be like an Olympic mindset for UFC, high level UFC shit. Man, you gotta. Very few people have that kind of work ethic.
Well,
that's an insane work ethic.
Well, I spoke to Professor Draculino about it. I mean, his last fight was for Strikeforce, right, Professor?
Yeah.
And we were talking about getting you ready back maybe for another jiu-jitsu match or something. And you told me that the level of focus and the amount of, I guess, drag on your life it takes, that at this point in your life, it's just kind of not – it's not really working.
Man, actually, by the way, my last MMA fight, I did a really cool heel hook.
Oh, you did a heel hook?
Yeah, so hey, leg locks work in MMA, and I did it on my left. I didn't finish, but I got the kick, and I did that. Very good.
Hey, who are your top students, Draculino?
My top, man, I have been having world champions in the IBJJF gi, right? Gi since 1998, every year. So it's kind of hard for me to say who's the best because I don't want to make anybody jealous. And also, we had 2 ADCC champions as well, Romulo Barral and Felipe Pena, you know? Mm-hmm. So, man, I'm not going to say who was the best student at all times because maybe result-wise was Romulo Barral.
Well, we lost Eddie for a second there, Professor, but he should be coming back in. But no, that's great answers on I mean, some of your top students, as you were saying, like you got Lucas who actually competed, EBI, and like what I love the most about that was how he used Eddie's back. All right, let's get him back in here. 1 second, and we're back. All right, so Professor Drac was talking about his top students, Felipe Pena and like Lucas Valente competed for you at EBI. And, he took those nasty heel hooks from Gary Tonin. He made it to the semis just using straight up old school jiu-jitsu. You remember him?
I love Lucas. I love that guy.
That's our lightweight champion.
Hey, Ryan, just for the records, because Eddie wasn't here. I didn't say who's my best student of all time. I don't want to make anybody jealous. I said
Felipe Pena, you gave him the black belt? I didn't know that.
Yes, I give. Yeah. He's from my school since he was a white belt kid. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but look.
In Texas?
Yeah, no, in Brazil, in my school in Brazil, the one that I have in Brazil. He's my student since
Romulo and him.
But Romulo probably results-wise, I think Romulo is still like the one my students that has best results. Romulo won ADCC. Romulo won 5 times IBJJF World. So this is very hard to beat. You have any guys? That are interested in combat jiu-jitsu? Man, like I was actually talking to one of my students from Brazil. His name is Eric Vanderlei, and he is also he was a 2 times world champion on the IBJJF. He fought MMA before. Very tough guy. He was asking me about it. I said, hey, Professor, he's very calm guy. Hey, Professor, what's up with this thing that you can slap on the face and knock people out? I was like, yeah, that's the new thing. It's like combat jiu-jitsu. To be honest, Eddie, I don't know it's for sure the rules. I watched it and I think it's really cool. I saw Wagner Rocha killing a guy one day.
And Wagner's fucking hands are like this big. They're like, can you imagine getting slapped by that guy?
No, man, it's not just his hand.
Small meat tenderizers.
Oh, man.
Hey, Draculino, any of your black belts that live in if they live in the States, it's harder to get people flying in from Brazil. Sometimes it's a problem.
Costs some money too.
Depends on the visa. If they don't have the visa, forget it. It takes a long time to get it.
But you got black belts out here though, right in Texas?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm telling you this not as like a challenge or anything. I'm always looking for the best guys. I just want the best guys, and man, you've raised so many champions and killers. I would love for us to have working relationship. You have Lucas Valente, and he's invited. Oh, you know what? The next show is 55.
Yeah, that's what Jordan Holly was saying. Yeah,
that'll be perfect for him. That'll be perfect.
Yeah, for sure. He's in 100%. I'm looking for the best. Is he a black belt yet? Did he get a black?
Lucas, yeah.
He took second. He took second at Worlds. He lost to Lepre
this year. He lost to Lucas Lepre at the final.
And it drove the judge's decision. Very close.
Yeah.
Is Lucas Lep?
He lost to Lucas Lepre by referee decision. Lepre, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a bad motherfucker. Lucas Lepre, shit.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? We study his passing a lot. I like his style. He likes to crush and smash a lot. I love that style.
Man, and he didn't even get close with Lucas. And I love Lucas Lepre as well. But man, like his guard, Lucas's guard, I'm telling you right now, I'll put money out there all day, every day. That there's not one person out there that'll pass his guard.
Let me talk about guard retention earlier. That's the guy right there.
I don't think anybody passing his guard.
Unpassable guard from all these times for students of mine. Lucas and Samuel Braga in regards to not pass, unbelievable. Lucas,
Samuel Braga. I remember watching him at that maybe 12 years ago in New York. There was a 16-man grappling.
Yeah. And he's tiny, man. He was tiny. He was like a rooster weight when he did that one. He's very.
I remember his guard. I remember his guard was insane.
Well, they said he started the Berimbolo, right, Professor Draculino, or a version of the Berimbolo, right?
100%. He was the one that invented 100%. Man, look.
Really? He invented the Berimbolo?
100%. 100%. If you guys want to watch, if you guys want to watch the finals of the 2005 World Championships, back in the day, nobody even knew the name Berimbolo. He did Berimbolo on the finals against Gabriel Moraes from Checkmate. He did the classical double pull, go underneath and get it. This in 2005. So people say other people invented. Those guys are probably on their diapers when Samuel was doing it. So there's no question whatsoever that the person to do the modern way to do the Berimbolo, Samuel, 100%.
You think it was just one of those techniques that got missed naming there for a while?
Yeah, Berimbolo was like after, the other day, right? In my time, it's like Eddie said, like we don't have names. That's a bad thing. People don't have names. People do like, the Roleta guard. The Nino guard. Do that one that Paulo Filho does. Do that choke that Hickson does. And it's tough.
You'll teach us techniques in class to where it's like, I don't really know what the American translation is, so just call it this or whatever. That's a fine or whatever.
It makes hard, man. I agree with him. I think I never thought names are a bad thing. I think it's funny, some of the names that he does. I think it's funny. The crackhead, right? Why you
control? I regret that one. Hey, listen, I apologize for crackhead control. I'm not proud of that one.
The crackhead.
I regret it. I was young.
Okay.
Yeah. So, hey, I want to get the call then. All right. So we did Hoyler 2003. They had the rematch at Metamoris. So I think, it was a draw, but is Eddie 2-0 against Hoyler? Or how do you think that went, Professor?
Me? Man, look, first one is a submission. What can you say about it? There's nothing to say about it. Man, look, I love Hoyler. Hoyler is a friend of mine as well. He beat me 3 times. I know how good it is. I know his accomplishments are hard to match. But, man, you win sometimes, you lose sometimes. He tapped, that's it. Whatever. Then the other one, I think, was a draw. But I watched the match, and it's one of those things. Eddie and Hoyler's game don't match. That's the truth. Don't match. They don't match. Okay? Yeah. There's always somebody that will have a game that won't match you, right, Eddie? There's always a guy.
I got brown belts. I got brown belts to kick my ass.
Exactly. I'm telling you, there's always somebody that has a game that doesn't fit to your game. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the other guy sucks and you like but that's a fact. The game doesn't match. I watched the match and literally, Eddie has an answer to the main stronger point of Hoyler at that time. So look, if it was like a point system on IBJJF, Eddie would have won.
So this was
he would have won. He would have won probably 8-4 or something, right? Or 6-2 or something like that. For sure. Yeah. He would win point wise. And we competed all their lives in a format that is closer or come from the IBJJF. So if you think about that, yes. But if you think about the actual rules that was agreed, it was a draw, right? But
Yeah, it was a
who was
draw.
the best man? Who was the best man there? I have to say the truth. Who did better? It was Eddie. Man, even
Thank
though
you. I appreciate that.
look,
Appreciate that.
brother, I was rooting for Hoyle. Don't get me wrong. I wanted him to beat you.
Of course.
I wanted
Half
him
the
to beat
people
you.
there were.
100%.
I get it.
I actually talked to Hoyle before the match, a couple of months before the match. But the truth is the truth. I'm not going to come here publicly and say something that is like completely untrue. Okay? It was a draw. That's the official result. It's a draw. Who was the best man in that particular night? Eddie Bravo. Who's the best between the two? All in between you two, you have his game. You have his number. Okay? But in between you two, in the big spectrum of things, I would say Hoyler's the best man. Because Hoyler had the titles that it's very hard to match.
But
And at the end of the day, it's not only about who you beat, it's about your titles, about what is on the history. 4 times world champion, 3 times ADCC champion, fought MMA against like huge guys. So in the spectrum, the big spectrum of things, okay, Eddie, I want you to understand that. I think Hoyle is the best man in that sense. However, the problem with you have the upper hand so far. That's what it is.
Well, if you look at like that Gordon Ryan and Felipe Pena, you know, they've had their, you know, Felipe's beat Gordon twice.
That's another example.
That's an example, I think, that where
another example. Let's put it this way. Felipe is my student. He comes from me. Of course, I'm rooting for him 100%. But Felipe beat him twice. One time he choked him out. Okay? And the other time he got his back and kind of did a great job too. But in no gi, okay, in no gi, at the present moment, who's the best one on the big spectrum of things? It's Gordon Ryan. It's Gordon Ryan. I have to say the truth. They keep fights everything without the gi, beated everybody, submitted most people in every rule format. I'm not gonna be one of those guys that just because the guy's my student, my friend, they're going to say what I don't think is true. The truth is that at the moment, the best no-gi grappler in the world is Gordon at the moment. Okay. However, it's kind of the same thing, Eddie and Gordon. The problem in between the two, Felipe is ahead. Felipe so far has his number. There's no questions about it because he beat him twice. I don't know what's going to happen in the third fight. That would be really cool to watch, as I don't know if all Eddie and Hoyle would go on the third time. But looking at the statistics, the favorite will be Felipe, and between Hoyle and Eddie will be Eddie. Between the two, you know what I mean? So that's a very, very important thing that people have to understand. It's not only about we can analyze between two people. We have to analyze the big spectrum of things. That's what I'm trying. That's why I'm trying to put in perspective here. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, for sure. What do you think, Eddie?
I agree with everything he said. You know, the rules were no submission. It's a draw. It was a draw. And
hey guys, really quick, Eddie, really quick. I'm dying to pee, but
hey, go pee real quick. We got this.
Okay, can I go like 1 second? I'm dying.
You're good. We'll wait for you, Professor.
I want to ask Eddie some questions anyway. So Eddie, one of my questions I had for you is your background in music. I've been playing music since I was 14 years old. You know, Seth Daniels has his background in music production. What is it about music guys that can throw the best grappling events? Is it just that we know how to throw a show or put on a show, or that we know what goes into the production? I mean, what do you think it is?
I've been to about 10,000 concerts. Maybe that has something to do with it. So I don't know. I never planned on putting together a show. I was trying to give people who wanted to promote shows the idea, the rule set, but nobody wanted to do it. I don't blame him. My partner, he said, dude, why don't you just do it and I'll produce it. And we'll make it. And I go, dude, I don't want the fucking headache. I don't want any headaches. I don't want to negotiate with nobody. I
It's a
don't
fuck.
negotiate with. Like I put together a tournament, 60-man tournament. You're either in or out. If you're out, we got replacements ready. I'm all about replacements.
So with that, so that's your part is, are you doing the matchmaking these days with EBI, or is that more Vic, or is it more of like a collaborative deal?
Sorry, guys.
No, I put together the bracket. I put together the, I personally invite the fighters unless they ask me. Some guys ask me, but as far as production goes, that's all Victor. He puts the whole show together. All I do is oversee and approve or veto. Boom, he runs things by me, and it kind of goes like that. But I don't do any of the work. I'm lazy. And
that's kind of me too.
I never wanted to promote. Victor said, "I'll make it really easy for you. I'll do everything. All you do is just put the fighters together, put the matches together, put the bracket together, promote." And that's we have just a perfect chemistry, man.
So you're something that's always inspired me about your shows is the care you put into the content and the way you presented it and just everything about it down to the detail. I'm the same way. Like I love putting out great content. I like making sure everything looks good down to the flyers. I mean, everything has to be almost perfect. Is that you overseeing that, or who on your design team do I got to shout out to? Like who's doing this? Like who's been doing this for years?
Like I said, I'm an executive producer, so everything gets run by me. I don't design. Design. I hire people to design the logo. Our graphics guys are awesome guys. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'll just say, hey, I might. Basically, we just try to rip off the UFC. We look at how they put their promos together, and I'm like, we need a promo like this. What do we have to do?
It works
to get a promo that looks like a UFC promo. Like what needs to happen? Better camera work, better we just need better shots. So
clip mics. You always need clip mics. Always need clip mics. Like people go in there with no clip mics and it's fucking like echoey. Like it sounds like you did it on your cell phone. Oh, I can't stand that shit. I'll turn it off immediately. But you guys have always like done.
Have you seen? We start off with music videos, like basically from the last show we did.
Yeah.
All those shots. The camera guys on those shots. We got some high level camera guys now. Like are those Fight Pass guys? Are those Fight Pass guys or your guys? Oh no, they're my guys.
Yeah,
we got high level guys. Just take a look at the music videos that we put together for the shows. Every one of those shots, that's like HBO, ESPN level. And
that's incredible looking. It looks great.
We do everything we can to try to make it look as high level as the UFC. Obviously, we don't have the budget. Obviously, we fall short, but we try every show just a little bit better. And then sometimes we get confident, and then we don't pay attention that much, and then we'll have a show with a lot of audio fuck ups or graphic fucks up. It's just like the intro's off. So then I sit everybody down. We're like, we gotta tighten this up.
That's it. So but the money it costs to go from like my show on Flow Grappling, I do the smoke and it's great. It looks good. But to go from that level of production that we do ourselves, I'm paying $10,000, I guess, all in for my production budget to get that HBO quality, the Fight Pass quality. I mean, you're basically using a whole production trailer. You're basically doing the whole thing, right? Like multiple, the whole deal, right?
All the money the UFC gives us, it's usually all on production. We have massive overhead. We have a great team. We have just like everybody on the team. We have a formula down every show. We're a tight ship,
No, it's great. Yeah.
Everyone's awesome. Megan,
hey guys, let me tell you, man. I went there to his show. His show is really, really good. It's like top level production. I've been to a bunch of shows. And it's like tight, it's professional, it's like everything organized. It's kind of like the UFC in a way that everything has a script, everything is like super, super tight. It's really good. It's really, really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it's true. True.
And like guys like us, like it was all grassroots for our show. Like we started it up. It was just a group of guys. Like, hey, I went to one of those shows that was kind of like a knockoff of Fight to Win, and I was kind of like, I can fucking do that. And so I was like, I threw concerts for a living. So I basically said, let's just swap out the rock stars for the athletes and use music venues that already have built-in production, and then start kind of taking the pro wrestling vibe, building the storylines. And I took a lot of inspiration from you and the way you innovated early on. So thank you again.
You guys have a lot of similarities. Actually, I saw both shows, and they're kind of both in the same format as you said. And you're just starting, right? Like Ryan, but you're going to a really good in a really good path. You know, like you guys are doing a great job. Congratulations to both of you as promoters.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm-
Thank you. I'm just
I appreciate it.
we all got to work together. People are like,
Yeah.
why are you promoting that show? Why are you promoting that show? I usually focus if you're doing submission only, and especially EBI rules, I go out and I tell everybody I will help you promote. Because it's not about, like I said, it's not about everyone coming up with like an original idea. It's about the best idea. So that's all I'm concerned with. I don't care if I made it up or someone else made it up, this part or that part. My goal is to put the best possible jiu-jitsu show.
100% yes.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. So I feel in my heart, because I could change the format, I could change the rules at any time, in any way, and I would if I felt it was better. But I feel for me personally, the combat jiu-jitsu is just EBI with palm strikes allowed. It's the same thing. 16-man tournament, 10-minute regulation, EBI OT. It's the exact same thing, except we have palm strikes, which I wanted from the get-go. I didn't even
More
want
realism,
EBI.
more
EBI
realism,
was
right?
my second choice. What was
Hey,
that?
but let me ask you, Eddie, the palm strikes are allowed standing or just when they grapple?
When one person is down, you can palm strike to the head, to the body, to the face.
Okay.
Oh, but one person has to be down. If both people are standing, it's just wrestling.
Okay.
Only wrestling. And it's only wrestling for 1 minute max. After 1 minute, if they're still standing, a horn goes off, and then we flip a coin, and you get to be top bottom. A bottom is sit-up guard with double underhooks, and then top guy's on his knees, and he has double underhooks. So that's how we start, top bottom. So you could only stand for 1 minute in combat jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
That makes sense.
We want the fight on the ground. We want it on the ground.
Keep it active.
And we want to see what jiu-jitsu works when we're striking. That's what we want to see.
And like when we started our brand, like we did kind of first to 11 points or submission because we wanted to blend the hybrid of sub only, but also bring in the point fighters, you know, the IBJJF type of athletes that were traditionally didn't like to do just sub only. They wanted to have a path to victory. If they wanted to land a couple of sweeps, hit mount, they could still win without having to submit. So that's what was the basis of our rule set. And Professor Draculino was and Professor Brandon Mullins were a big consulting with us on our rules, and our overtime is basically this. If you're up on point,
the same thing. Yeah, same thing. Like top and bottom, but no point flip though, right? It's just like whoever was more active during the.
But like if it was ever up on points, that person will get to pick top or bottom, full guard or starting on the feet, and then it's first point or submission from there. So the full guard is the basis of it. If you get a good wrestler that gets to overtime, he can say, all right, we're starting on the feet, and he gets to take down, game over. So that's kind of the way that we did it, because we wanted to make sure that people were still doing jiu-jitsu in overtime and that there was a definitive winner.
Eddie, let me ask you this. If the guy on top, for instance, on the combat jiu-jitsu, he deliberately stands up, is that any kind of penalty for him or no? If the guy
can you repeat that?
Yes, let's say the guy on top on combat jiu-jitsu, he's there in the guard, slapping whatever, and all of a sudden he deliberately stands up, not engaging.
He can stand up.
He can do that.
If you could stand up and the guy's still in the guard, you could punch from standing, or you could strike and you could be standing over him and strike.
Okay, so there's no penalty for the guy not engaging on the guard, right?
Oh, no. The penalty is going to be if the guy standing is just standing and he doesn't want to pass. He only could stand over the guy's guard. We call that position purgatory. You only could be in purgatory for 20 seconds max. Anytime after 20 seconds, a clock starts. So as long as you could stay there the whole time, you could stay standing, but every second you stay standing will be added to your overtime escape time. So it might not be a good idea. So you can stand if you want. So the goal is, if a guy's on his back, if your opponent is pulled guard, you have to try to pass his guard.
That makes sense.
If you don't, and you're just standing striking, then you could do that if you want. But every second you do that, after 20 seconds gets added to your overtime.
So it's a kind of penalty. It's penalizing the guy, in other words. I mean, if the guy does that, he doesn't
like if someone pulls guard and you're not trying to pass the guard, what the hell do you want? Like, what are you doing here?
Exactly. Yeah, for
try
sure.
to pass the guard. You got to pass the guard. Jump on legs. You could jump on leg locks if you want. Pass the guard, or you could stay standing the whole time, but you will be penalized.
That's another famous moment I want to talk to you. Your buddy Brendan Schaub when he fought Cyborg. What could have prevented that from happening? Like when Cyborg just sat basically, and Brendan just basically kind of did his thing. I mean, was it more? What was his strategy going into that? I mean, obviously it's Cyborg, but
it's a strategy. You know what? He gamed the system. You know what I mean? So that's why in EBI we don't have draws in overtime, because then you could have matches like that. You know, if you want to do that, like let's just say it was Brendan and Cyborg in EBI rules, and then Brendan did that, well then they would go to overtime, and then they would each get a shot at each other's back.
Yeah,
and who do you think would win then?
Cyborg,
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's why I do the overtime like that. And the refs, there's no refs, no judges, and the ref is so not involved in EBI or combat that I could ref, and I have ref my own guys, and nobody complains. Not even the opponent's coach. They never said you can't ref. That's your own guy. You know why they never complain? Because they know I don't matter. I'm like a bounce, like a security guard, making sure people don't fall off. That's the way I designed it. Refs don't matter. Judges don't matter. The fighters decide who wins. Nobody else. You can't blame anybody else.
All right. So I'm gonna do a little thing. I'm gonna say 5 things, and you got a minute each to respond to the word. It's just words, and then we'll go through them there.
Who's gonna go first? All
right. Let's see.
Draculino can go first.
Okay. Professor Draculino, we'll have him go. So the first word, aliens. First thing that comes to mind.
They're out there.
Professor Drac is a believer, Eddie.
I used to believe, not anymore.
Whoa. So aliens, no believer on Eddie's side. Professor Drac, he's a believer. I don't know.
I don't have the proof, but I'm sure they're out there.
All right. So the next one we're going to go with kimono.
Tradition.
What did you say?
Kimono. The gi.
Tradition.
Oh, tradition.
It sucked.
Hot in the summer.
That's a good one.
Sweaty. Hard to wash. Washing geese, that's like a part-time job. Oh my God, it's so hard to wash sweaty geese. You bring that shit home? Oh my God.
That's why you wear it 3 times and you give everybody ringworm. Everybody gets tired of watching it. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I hated washing my geese. Oh.
All right, so the next one is innovators. I say innovators. Who's first in your mind?
Innovators.
And not just in jiu-jitsu, just in general. Like first thing that comes to mind, innovator.
Visionaries.
Nikola Tesla.
Tesla, eh? There we go.
That's a good one.
Shout out Tesla. What's going on? All right, so we'll go the best guard of all time. It doesn't have to be open, closed, whatever. Who has the best guard of all time in your opinion, Professor Drag?
Well, you'd have to be specific on that because there's a bunch of different kinds.
All right, overall guard player. Overall guard player.
Most best finisher, gi from the guard. Best finisher, no gi from the guard.
All right, let's go. That was good. Yeah, we'll get detailed. Best finisher, gi in the guard.
Who's the best finisher? Is it Braulio Estima? Is he the best finisher in the gi in full guard?
Arguably. Or Roger.
Yeah.
Finisher.
Or Crone Gracie.
Crone too.
He's good. Or Sean D. Rivera. What about that? He's got a really good gi guard for sure.
Okay, so let's do it like this. Eddie, you say the top finishers, and I say the hardest ones to pass. How about that?
Okay. The hardest ones to pass got to be the Meow twins, though, right? Holy shit.
That's guys' partner.
Those guys, there's guards. You can't pass those guards.
Who's your finishers, Eddie?
Finishers, no gi from full guard. Ben Eddy, Jeremiah Vance, Boogie Martinez, Vinny Magalhaes. I'm just going by like competition footage and data, not like what I see in the gym. Just look at Jeremiah Vance's highlight reel. Look at Grace Gundrum's highlight reel.
You know who, like Ben Eddy, man? Like I've had some conversations with him on IG. That's a super smart dude, very insightful. I'm a big fan of him. Hopefully we'll get him down here.
And his rubber guard is completely different than mine. We don't play the same game.
Yeah.
It starts off with, either like a meat hook or a mission control. But after that, shit, he's going a whole different dimension, and I'm doing a whole different thing. It's really, all rubber guard is not the same. Very different. There's very different styles.
All right. So the last thing, Professor Draculino, Jeffrey Epstein. If I say Jeffrey Epstein,
I want to hear professors. I want to hear professors' passers first.
Hey, how are you gonna blow my fifth question there? My Jeffrey Epstein.
Am I saying the best passers or the best guard retention?
Best guard retention.
Oh.
What the fuck? Like, no, best passers.
We're doing passers then?
Okay, best passers.
I don't think anybody knows what's going on anymore. It was kind of went off the rails there for a second.
I wanted to hear Drax's response to that.
All right,
hey, has anybody passed the Meow Brothers guards? When was the last time someone passed their guard?
There was a kid that passed twice. There was a kid that passed twice in the nationals in his weight class.
Really?
Yeah.
It was at Levi Jones, wasn't it? Levi Jones.
Send me a link.
No, it's another kid. It's another kid. I'll find out his name.
You know what?
His weight class.
Keaton Cornelius, I think, passed one of the Meows guard, I think, in an absolute one. That was the one where he stepped on his leg.
Yeah.
Stepped on his ankle. Like, oh shit, he passed.
This giant ass American passing this little guy.
But there was a kid that last year passed Meow's guard twice on his weight class in the nationals.
Damn.
What's his name? Shit.
Yeah, we gotta find him.
It's a
that guy needs to be on the cover of the magazine.
Yeah.
All right.
So passers, Roger Gracie and Rodolfo Vieira.
Shit, yeah.
Speaking of Adolfo, that MMA, like he didn't get the love in the MMA. Do you see Adolfo being a UFC heavyweight champion or a UFC champion? I know he's not. I mean, whatever division is he in? Do you see him being a champion?
He's a 185er.
Yeah, 185.
Yeah, man, he has the potential, but it's very soon to say. It's too soon to say. It's impossible to say anything right now. But the potential is there. He's a hard worker. He's keen to learn. He's humble to learn. He's improving a lot. He's striking. His takedowns are amazing. His jiu-jitsu is off the chart. Why not?
Yep. Right on. Well, all right. Well, I guess, guys, I mean, that's all I had. I guess the last part was already kind of ruined.
No, let's say it.
No. So, Eddie, I'm just going to ask Eddie this question. Fuck it. I'm not going to even say the conspiracy. When you're doing this flat earth stuff and you're out here and you're spitting this stuff, real or fake, like how much are you really trolling motherfuckers? And how much do you really believe that the earth is flat? Like I got to know. I got to know.
The like science. You're into science, right?
Science is fucking awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah. You believe the earth is round? You believe we live on a ball?
I believe what I've been told. I believe what I've seen, growing up, reading in science books, doing my own research on it, that kind of thing. That's all I know. I haven't done a deep dive into flat earth. Maybe Oliver has. Maybe Professor Draculino's a flat earth expert. Maybe, I don't know.
I care less if it's rounded, flat, triangle, whatever. I do my grinding, and I don't give a flying fuck about that.
No, but I want to hear it, Eddie. No, for real. I'm not clowning you. I want to know, like when you're out there and you're doing this stuff. Are you doing it just stir up conversation, or is these like deep rooted beliefs of your own as well, or that stuff that you're diving into?
Well, I believe the Earth is flat. Mm-hmm. That's not a troll, but you can't. We've been so indoctrinated that I don't try to convince anybody that the world is flat. If you have questions and you're interested and maybe you're on the fence, yeah, I'm down. I'll steer you in the flat Earth direction. But if you are completely opposed to it, yet you don't know the circumference of the supposed ball, and you don't know the do you?
No, I don't.
Do you know how? Yeah, it's about a little over 24,000 miles in circumference, supposedly. And all I know, I just keep it simple. When you if you're into science, well, the science of water, the basic mechanics of water is it's always flat, always finds its level, and it always conforms to the inside of a container. I can prove that in any city on Earth. I can put water in a bottle and it's flat, it's level, and it conforms to whatever the shape on the inside. But I can't prove that water conforms to the outside of a container without falling off. And I can prove it's flat. Nobody can prove it's water bends or curves. All the pictures we see of Earth are CGI. That anything of Earth from space, those aren't real pictures. It's all either fisheye lens from about 50,000 miles up. It's easy to make it look curved. You put a fisheye lens on everything. It looks like you could see a curve if you have the fisheye lens on your camera and you're just standing on the ground.
Then why the lie? What's the purpose behind it? Why tell us the world is round for all these years if it's really flat? What is the purpose behind that? That's what I want to know.
That's a long conversation, man.
Hey, I'll shoot you a text offline. We'll get.
Watch a good intro video on, like, if you're curious. If you're not curious, if you think it's
I love conspiracies, dude. I love them. I read into all of them. I just haven't got to. The flat Earth thing was a little too much for me, so I haven't jumped into it yet.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you believe we landed on the moon?
I think there's some questions about what went on with that whole situation.
Okay. So there's hope. There's hope for you, for flat Earth. Because if you believe, if you believe we landed on the moon, if you believe all that, you'll never get to flat Earth. You got to figure that one out first, because the moon is the first one. If you believe we went to the moon and you believe NASA, you believe what they're saying, then you'll never be a flat earther. You'll believe we live on a spinning ball your whole life.
Well,
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, you say the NASA thing of that we didn't land on the moon. The purpose behind that is what? The Russia, the space race for us to have our American superiority. That's why we faked it. Is that what everybody's saying? So we beat the Russians first? Or what's
the official? That's the official excuse.
So that's the official
excuse. Deeper than that, man. You know what I'll say. You could start by there's there's 2 documentaries that are out right now, and no one has anything to do but watch documentaries. So you want entertainment if you're bored. There's 100%. A documentary on YouTube called Out of the Shadows. Mm-hmm. Out of the Shadows. Watch that one. And there's another one called, that just came out, Hoaxed. Watch those 2, and if those 2 don't, it's not about flat Earth, it's not about the moon landing, but you have to understand. It's such a long story. It's simple answer.
Well, I mean,
look at long story.
Well, look at what we're living through right now.
It's like trying to explain Game of Thrones to you in 5 minutes. You can't do it. It's a long story.
Well, people like with the coronavirus, Professor Drac, I told you I wouldn't get too much into conspiracies, but this one, like the coronavirus stuff, I mean, there's mass death everywhere. I mean, there's been a lot of big issues, but now there's stuff that's coming out saying that some of the hospital footage in New York was faked from Italy. They were taking Italian hospital footage and passing it off as New York City. Like, do you think that there's more to this coronavirus thing than we're being told? The Wuhan lab, the wet markets, the bats, this. I mean, we talked about it briefly in the beginning, but I mean, are we really seeing? Are we being told the truth? Do you think?
For me,
yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Professor? I'll let you hit that one first.
About what Eddie said.
No, about the coronavirus. Like, do you think we know everything that we're being told, or do you think there's more?
Oh, of course not. No, man. Like about the coronavirus, the truth is that nobody knows shit. It's
I believe that.
In all areas, man. I'm trying to get this damn loan from the government. Nobody knows how to do it, and that's how it's going to happen. I'm trying to understand, like, oh, it comes back if you have one. Some people say yes, some people say no. Oh, you only get sold people. Some people say yes, some people say no. Highly respected people say both ways. We don't know nothing about that yet. That's the truth. We know that you was out there. And as a matter of fact,
all I know,
I think I got
the average age is 80. Average age is 80. It's just like the flu. Average age 80. They go, it's not like the flu. It's different. It's not like the flu. I'm like, the average age of death is 80 with pre-existing conditions. I know people that have supposedly got COVID. I have friends. And you know what I told them? You're going to be fine. You're not going to die. Just like the flu. And before this whole coronavirus media scare, if you got the flu, you felt like shit. You stayed home.
Yeah.
The runs, you threw up, and no big deal. But since the media is fear mongering. Now, when someone gets a cold or a fever, imagine getting a fever and a flu, and everybody's telling you on the news that you might die. Imagine how worse it's going to feel. People are, oh, it's so much worse. It's way worse.
Guys.
Yeah, because mentally you think it's worse, but it's, to me, I believe it. Everyone's just getting the flu. It's just a variation of the flu. That's what I think it is.
I fought that 100%. But Eddie, I talked to people that had it, and they were like worse than us. They were kind of like, this is the biggest bullshit on earth. This is a joke. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna get it. If you talk to them now, they change their mind because I had, for example, I had H1N1 one time. It sucks. It was
shit.
Really bad. I had it in swine flu in 2012. It is really bad. I got crushed. But
what's the average? But the average age, I keep getting back to this. The average age is 80. That's just the flu. 80,000 people a year die of the flu. No one cares about the flu. What about the people dying of the flu? My uncle has throat cancer right now. He's on his last legs. No one gives a shit about that.
Wait,
but if I said he had COVID, people are like, dude, Eddie Bravo's uncle got COVID. All I have to do is say he has COVID.
No, that's
true. I tell people he has cancer. No one gives a shit.
Yeah,
that's true. No, it's true. And we got caught up with it with our show, man. We had to cancel a whole show over it as well. I mean, we canceled, I think, as of now, 4 shows over this shit. So I don't know what to think. I'm reading all the information out there.
One thing, though, we have to all agree. It's extremely contagious. It's very easy to get that crap. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Like the flu. It's
very
similar to the flu.
But for example, when I had
average age of death is 80.
But look, when I got H1N1, I came home and I was in Brazil. When I came home, I was already sick. It took 3 days for them to finally diagnose correctly because they said I had strep throat. So I was in my house, me, my wife, my 2 kids, and actually my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and they're older. Nobody got it. It was a miracle. They all had to test. I did my things like I live normally, if you know what I mean, and nobody got it. But, for example, Roger was telling me, Roger's girlfriend started to get sick. They already, because of the whole thing, started to kind of get distant. Didn't care, man. Every single person in the house got it. They say it's like if you are in the same environment, forget it.
Well, Professor, I got a question. Why, of a state of 30 million people, they said that we've only tested 200,000 people in Texas. Like, how is this how are they even saying, oh, we've got the scientific data, we've got these numbers where this is the best thing for the country, and you're testing a percentage of a population, and you don't even know really the true spread or who really has it and who doesn't. Like, it just seems like a load of bullshit, and they need to.
And that's what I'm saying, Ryan. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Everybody thinks, but nobody knows for sure.
200,000 tested. 30 million people. 200,000 tested. That's it.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But one thing I agree with Eddie. For example, his uncle. God forbid, let's say something happens to him. If he got really COVID, but he was already on his last legs, like he said. It wasn't that necessarily the virus that killed him. It was his state already. The way he was, his disease and his state and all that. That I agree, because people are putting, for example, the guy gets shot 3 times. He's on the ICU. He gets the virus. Oh, he died of coronavirus. Oh, he died of
that's what's happening. And they're saying these guys died from COVID, but when they're coming in, because they come in with a gunshot wound to the head, they died of coronavirus. Like,
But look. One thing though, again, we should not take it very lightly because, man, you see the judoka there from France that died with 37-year-old. You guys saw that? Yeah. Olympic judo guy from Paris. He died like 2 days ago. And it was on the news that he had 0 history of anything remotely related to to any problem. He was a perfectly healthy guy that went to the Olympics. 37-year-old passed away. Of course,
that's terrible. And you know what
happens with the flu too.
I know. Yeah, it happens too. I mean, people can die. Absolutely.
Well, why is the flu killing old people the way that the coronavirus is? So, I mean, if it was just another flu, I mean, why would these people, like full nursing homes, just dropping dead like at the drop of the hat?
But look, it's a super flu. But it is a flu. But it's a super flu. That it is. And a flu that people still do not have enough information. You know, God willing, somebody will study that, somebody credible, and we're gonna get like a whatever, a vaccine or whatever, like an efficient treatment, and then they're gonna move on with our life. I think that's the run now. I just know this, man. Honestly, if I get it, I don't want to get it, but if I get it and I don't give it to anybody from my family, fine. But I'm more scared about my people, my family, and my friends than anything else. I don't want to give it to anybody. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, guys, I've had y'all for a long time. We're coming up on 2 hours. I mean, Eddie, it's been an honor, man. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I hopefully we can make that show happen eventually in LA that we were talking about between, Team Third Coast versus Team West Coast. And so have Professor Draculino come out and coach, have you do your thing. And then Professor Draculino, as always.
That sounds like fun, man. That's gonna be awesome.
We still want to do it.
Co-promote.
Yeah, man, I'm down to co-promote. Like, my only thing that's the barrier between us is Flow Grappling. I don't know how they'd get down with, with the flagship over there at Fight Pass, and us intermingling.
No, it's real simple. It's real simple. You're having my guys fight on your show. You have my guys fight on your show. I post it on social media. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm all about your guys. Like the Geo match that I made, the Geo versus Ethan match, all that shit that happened with coronavirus. Yeah. Professor Drac was right there. All these guys making all these conspiracies about my business, saying that we were trying to fuck the fighters and all that.
No, it was. Yeah, I witnessed that. There was zero conspiracy theory there. It happened when it happened.
We were just trying to limit people flying in from the other parts of the country that were hot spots at the time. And they said, "Oh, well, you're cut. If you're worried about that, you would have canceled the whole thing. If I cancel the whole thing, then you're really going to say I'm poor and that I can't pay my fighters." So it's like I tried to put on a card with just Texas people, and then eventually it wasn't going to happen anyways. They pulled it by March 14th anyways. And that was it. But, man, like the Geo match and Ethan match, like I love your guys. Any of your 10th Planet guys. When Marvin came out and fought Jordan, I mean, anytime I've dealt with anybody from 10th Planet, you included, it's been a pleasure. And I can't say enough good things about you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. We're just trying to grow this sport. We're just trying to, create as many. We need an industry before we could start competing against each other. We can't compete against each other because we need to work together because there is no industry.
Exactly.
Nobody's making money. We're all breaking even. Nobody's making money. So there's hundreds of thousands of jiu-jitsu practitioners, and they're not supporting these shows. They're really not. They're not. Once we get the jiu-jitsu community to support jiu-jitsu shows like yours, like Kasai, Combat Jiu-Jitsu, all the shows around, we all need to unite and get together and not, nobody's making any money, so there's no reason to talk shit.
Well, I got
out as many shows as possible.
And I got caught up in like the competitive aspect of just trying to oversell and market because we were coming into like a clouded arena. Nobody knew who we were. So we had to come in, talk some shit, be a little loud, take the Donald Trump approach a little bit, put on some crazy shows, and get some people's attention, and it rubbed some people the wrong way. But honestly, I don't give a fuck. You still tuned in whether you liked me or not, but like I said, I held you guys a little too long. Eddie, super appreciative, man. I definitely want to find a way to work together.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Drac, I'll see you soon, man.
Thank you, man. Good to see you too, brother.
Guys.
Yeah.
Find me some combat jiu-jitsu black belts.
That's good.
And Professor Drac and Legend. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys both very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, guys.